Hello and welcome to God's favorite podcast, Legends of Philadelphia. We're your hosts. I'm Tony, water into celery soda, Trove. And this is my schoolyard chum, Johnny Golden Calf Zito. Joining us as always is patron saint of Mayo, Brian Bierman.
That's how I want to be referred to also.
You might be wondering, why did God make Ezekiel bake bread using human poop?
It's in the Bible.
Well, in addition to being Philadelphia natives, Zito and I have a lifestyle brand, South Fellini, that focuses on Philly culture and in-jokes. Lots of times, customers will ask us, is the King James Version of the Bible like the director's cut? Or they want to know how much to bet on Goliath. Like we're bookies. So we decided...
He's definitely crushing David. There's no way.
He's no way. He's got
crazy.
this.
He's crazy. He's got a stone. Come on.
So we decided to start this podcast as an easy explainer for Philadelphians and a refresher for the new Philadelphians and a refresher for the old heads. The city fascinates and excites us, so we're hoping to share that with yous.
This is the Bible quote. This is from Bible.com. Ezekiel 4:12-17. You must make your bread each day. You must get dry human dung and burn it. Then you must cook the bread over this burning dung. You must eat this bread in front of the people. Then the Lord said, this will show that the family of Israel will not eat unclean bread in foreign countries, and that I am the one who forced them to leave Israel and go to those countries. Then I said, oh, but Lord
it's getting
God,
political now.
I have never eaten any unclean food. I have never eaten meat from an animal that died from a disease or from an animal that was killed by a wild animal. I have never eaten unclean meat, not from the time that I was a bubble. Okay. Then God said to me, very well, I will let you use dry cow dung to cook your bread. You don't have to use dry human dung.
The New Testament God doesn't do things like that.
There's other ones we can't even say on the air.
I do want to take this as an opportunity to mention that Bierman's been writing the jokes for the opening introductions this year.
I'll take credit.
I'm with God on this one.
You think people? You think there's some place that sells the bread? They're like, we have the Bible bread. We have it. It's cooked over.
I guess it depends on it depends on the baker.
Let's open a bakery, and that's what we'll specialize in.
Yeah, get these croissants out of my face. We're gonna have poop bread,
as the Lord intended.
As the Lord intended.
Today we're getting religious. We're talking about the Philadelphia Bible Riots, which were a series of deadly conflicts that took place between May and July 1844. Anti-Catholic mobs, angered by the growing population of Irish immigrants, attacked churches in Kensington and Southwark. The Nativist violence did not solve their problems and instead gave rise to the gangs of Philadelphia.
You have been talking about this for the last 20-something years, and I can't believe you weaseled your way into this
I'm very excited about this episode. And I guess years ago I read a book called... a 300-year history of Philadelphia. Back at when Borders was on Broad Street, I'd go in there and read a little bit at a time.
This is why they went out of business, because people like you.
It's not a library.
It's not a library. I'm just using the bathroom. Take it in the bathroom with you.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Nobody else was buying that tomb. So I read through it, and there's like a chapter
300 years worth.
300 years worth of Philadelphia history, and there's a chapter in there about this Civil War hero and how he defeated the gangs of Philadelphia and like in a tamed the Old West kind of way. And I had nothing to visually compare this to from what the book was describing. But a year or two later, the movie Gangs of New York came out, and I was like,
oh, I've seen this.
Are you guys familiar with this outside of Gangs of New York?
Only from you.
Yeah.
Going on and on about it.
Yeah, I don't know about this at all. This is totally...
And I've never heard anyone else talk about it. That's the other thing, too. This is not like, that particular person always brings it up. You are the only person I know who talks about this. And I think you even sneak it into our Instagram once in a while.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, the old blood tubs. I'm like, no one knows what the blood tubs is.
Well, they're about to find out.
Stop posting
They're about to find out.
That sounds metal, though.
It does sound metal, but then we're gonna make a blood tub T-shirt.
You better believe it.
We'll sell one.
Right here.
Yeah, Justin will buy it. 2, okay.
That's an audience.
That's an audience. That's a following.
Now I want one.
No, this is. You guys can all wear them at the same time and then start your own gang.
Coordinate. Yeah, the blood tubs.
Patreon.
Got to sign up for the Patreon if you want to join the gang.
The Patreon subscribers are like a gang. The coolest, baddest gang I've ever seen in my life.
Don't mess with them.
Don't mess with them. But for a small fee, you can easily join.
Alarmed by the rising Catholic population, Protestants and native-born Americans started organizing anti-Catholic groups in 1840. They distributed anti-Catholic literature and published anti-Catholic newspapers. So there was a demand for it. There was enough people who wanted this stuff that they were publishing.
Yeah, it was weekly news.
It was more than one newspaper.
The comics they put in there were hilarious.
They're saying what we're all thinking.
On November 10th, 1842, Philadelphia's Catholic Bishop Francis Kenrick wrote to the Board of Controllers of Public Schools and requested that Catholic children read from the Roman Catholic Bible instead of the Protestant Bible at morning devotionals.
Wow. Is there a big difference? Is there like
the Roman Catholic Bible was red. The Protestant Bible was maroon.
That's literally what it comes down to.
There's no dragons in the Protestant
They
Bible.
were invested in their publishers,
Is there dragons in the Bible?
Depends on who you ask, I guess.
Depends on which version you read.
Oh, I want the dragons one, clearly. I want the George R.R. Martin Bible. He's still finishing that, though.
He's still working on it.
The Whig Party was the dominant political party in the city at the time. And
Sounds fun.
And they wanted to split the Democratic coalition, so they approved Bishop Kenrick's Bible swap. They were like, let's turn these Protestants and Catholics against each other.
Classics. Divide and conquer.
Then we'll sell more Bibles that way.
The same publisher printed both Bibles, so they win both ways.
So this approval outraged the evangelical leaders, and Protestants claimed that Catholics, with direct influence from the Pope, were trying to remove their Bible from schools.
So the Pope was like, hey, I don't want this.
He was like, hey, I don't want this.
He was smoking 3 cigarettes at the same time.
You know, I have kind of noticed that people, when discussing Catholicism and the Pope, they act like the Pope's been the same guy since, like, the beginning of time. And he's, like, been running the show. It's just been one guy or whatever. But there's, just so people know, there's been many popes.
Says you.
It's like Doctor Who. There's been many.
But it is all technically the same doctor.
Yeah, like you're speaking for God each time. You're like God standing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Although
Doctor Who and the Pope, very similar.
They have a lot in common.
Yeah.
On May 6, 1844, the American Republican Party held a meeting at a market in the predominantly Irish part of the Kensington district. The inflammatory remarks they spoke there sparked fighting between the Irish Catholics and the Nativists. Fighting spilled outside, where Nativists were shot at by people from the windows of nearby homes. They heard people talking shit in the street, and they grabbed their gun.
Like, what'd you say? What'd you say about Ezekiel? You won't eat poop bread? Is that what you just said?
All this fighting in Kensington, the American Republicans returned the next day with a large group of armed men. Over the next 3 days of terror, they burned down 30 homes, 2 churches, a seminary, and the market where the violence began.
Jesus.
They put the January 6 people to shame.
They really did.
Those are some Republicans.
We just lost all our audience. Those people left immediately.
They burned down 30 homes. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, the most the J6 guys could do was shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk. So.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's nothing.
Taking selfies. My day, they burned down churches.
2 churches.
At least 2, yeah.
At least 2.
While the riot was contained to Kensington, another Nativist mob gathered at St. Augustine Catholic Church located at 4th and Vine Street. City troops were stationed by the church, and Mayor John Moran Scott begged for calm. The rioters threw stones at the mayor, ignored the troops, and burned down the church anyway, cheering when the steeple fell.
There's something in the Bible about throwing stones. I'm not an expert.
Isn't it weird how the religious people are doing like the least religious things.
Kill for peace, dude.
Kill for peace.
The citizens of Philadelphia stoned the mayor and then burned down a church.
Not the first time, not the last.
Bishop Kendrick asked Catholics to offer no resistance and urged them to wait for the law to deal with the riot.
Turn the other cheek.
However, in its June 18th report, a grand jury blamed the Irish Catholics for the riots.
Unturn that cheek.
If you didn't want me to burn down your church, you shouldn't have been Catholic.
Should have deserved it.
Should have thought about that before you were born in Ireland.
On July 3rd, Father John Patrick Dunn of Southwark's St. Philip Neri Parish was warned that the church might be attacked by nativists during the Independence Day parade.
That must have been exhausting.
I know, it just won't end. It just won't end.
Trying to pray.
To prepare for the violence, the church applied for an arsenal to be used by a volunteer company if the church was attacked. You could just do that back then. You could just put together a volunteer company and ask the government for guns.
Wow.
Pennsylvania Governor David R. Porter authorized a loan of 25 muskets from the Frankfort Arsenal and put the troops on alert in case of violence.
Let me look that up.
And
What is 25 muskets
Inflation.
in today's guns?
402 muskets.
wow.
It's a lot.
That's also David R. Porter of Porter Street.
Oh.
Whoa, really?
Wow, yeah.
Probably.
Hopefully that's right.
I say go with it.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
No violence occurred during the parade, but on July 5th, a nativist mob of thousands gathered at the church after rumors spread that the church was hiding weapons. Because they were.
Issued by the government. I also kind of like the idea that there's just like a room in City Hall full of like muskets. give them the...
We need some muskets. How many? 50. I'll give you 25.
I'll do 25.
Best I can do.
Father Dunn needs the guns.
That night, the sheriff arrived with a 150-man posse. Throughout the evening...
But there was thousands of the other...
There were thousands of people in the mob, yeah. Throughout the evening, the military presence grew, and 3 cannons were stationed on the streets.
3 cannons?
The sheriff had the military come down, and the military brought their cannons. The mob attacked the soldiers, so General Cadwalder ordered a cannon be fired at the crowd on 3rd Street, effectively scattering the mob.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they fired on civilians.
I mean, I guess it's probably easy to dodge a cannon ball.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, like they like that big thing. It's just,
I guess
you're like, oh, we gotta get out of
it
here.
has like a long, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, hurry up, run.
Hurry up, right out of here. I've watched my share of cartoons.
Yeah.
To know this
Those
is
are
how
accurate.
cannon
That's what this is based on.
So
and they dropped the anvils on people, right?
and pianos.
Yeah.
On the morning of July 7th, the mob attacked the church. Returning with a pair of cannons they stole from the wharf. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a cannon is a good guy with a cannon.
Yeah. We should all have cannons.
After damaging a wall with cannon fire, the mob penetrated the church and set it on fire.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, well, a cannon will do that.
You think these are the same people that set those other 2 churches on fire?
In fact, there were people from the May riot who attended this riot.
They were like, listen, I kind of know what I'm doing right now.
There's only so many people who are like feeling this. Like, I mean, they all know each other.
Yeah.
It's not like
From message boards.
right. There's only so many.
Yeah. Where were these guys radicalized? Like 4chan or
8chan.
8chan? Ye old 8chan?
Yeah. Ye old QAnon.
I do know for a fact that at least one guy from the May riot came down to this church in South Philly for the July riot, and he rallied the crowd with a inspirational speech.
Wow.
When the crowd had formed and was asking or demanding that the church be searched for weapons.
He was a veteran, basically.
He was like, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Wow.
Soldiers brought in 2 cannons of their own and fired on the mob. The mob returned fire using their own cannons, and both sides engaged in hand-to-hand combat armed with nails, chains, knives, and broken bottles.
Oh, man.
Whoa.
This is all happening in South Philly. This isn't Gettysburg. This isn't some Civil War battle in the middle of nowhere. This is like 3rd Street in South Philly.
I don't want to hang out with these people.
In an attempt to capture the mob's cannons, soldiers charged their position only to be knocked off their horses by rope tied across the street.
Oh, like they hung rope.
Yeah,
The
they
old-
literally clotheslined them.
You do the old clothesline trick.
Wow.
Yeah, it actually worked back then. Nobody'd seen it before.
Yeah, it was new.
At least 15 people, including civilians and soldiers, were killed in the riot, and at least 50 people were injured.
I thought it'd be way more than that, honestly.
As with the May riots, a grand jury convened and blamed the Irish Catholics for the violence.
Man, they're 0-2 in this.
These guys just can't stop.
They gotta get better lawyers. I think that's what it is.
In the aftermath, Bishop Kendrick ended his efforts to influence the public education system and began encouraging the creation of Catholic schools.
Fine, read whatever Bible you want. Too many people died.
17 Catholic schools were established over the next decade.
So this is how Catholic schools started?
Yeah, at least the Catholic school system in Philadelphia.
Wow.
I imagine it was probably pretty similar in New York, Boston, Baltimore.
And that's why they beat the kids with rulers, because it's like reminding them of this is what we had, this is what we did back in the day to like start all this.
Generational trauma. Yeah, I guess so.
Let's continue that.
In general, Irish Catholics felt abandoned by the government and started to form small squads or clubs to protect their church, their corner, their neighborhood, now that they knew they couldn't rely on the police.
It's not a gang, it's a club.
Social club.
We're just playing pinochle. It wasn't long before these gangs were fighting each other
Clubs.
these clubs were fighting each other for limited territory and resources.
Yeah, that happens with gangs. I mean clubs.
The community isolation and lack of police below South Street, the city's southern border at the time, gave rise to a new form of street warfare. And by 1850, the Enquirer reported that 65 gangs armed to the teeth with pistols and knives dominated the streets of Southwark and Moymensing.
Jesus.
That's South Philadelphia now.
That's where 2 streeters come from.
And 30th Streeters.
And 30 streeters, sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unsafe.
And then these eventually became mummers groups, I guess.
That's yeah, they still wear their colors on New Year's.
They still wear their colors. Guys.
Golden shoes.
Golden Slippers is a fight song. Yeah, you gotta listen to the words. You gotta.
What if our gang put on a minstrel show? Hit us with the names of these.
Yeah, what are the name? We know the name of the clubs.
Yes, here are some clubs that I found on Wikipedia. Gangs, clubs. The first one is the Blood Tubs. We talked about. We mentioned them.
Classic. Scary.
That's ours though.
They got their name from hanging around the butcher shops, the slaughterhouse districts, and
Where blood is.
Where
blood is.
That's metal.
There's the Stingers.
Okay.
The Wildcats. Yeah, they wore bee costumes.
They wore bee suits.
Wildcats.
Wildcats.
Every elementary school football team is the Wildcats.
It's true.
Yep.
This is where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Spitfires.
Not to intimidate. Okay.
No, that's pretty coll.
Mm-hmm.
The Center Street Boys.
Also a dance troupe.
Yeah. They pop and lock. That's how they were like fighting people. They were like, what?
They vogued off.
Yeah.
That's how all gang violence should resolve.
Mm-hmm.
The Pickwick Club.
Much like
that's not threatening sounding.
They sound like they collect butterflies or something. The Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Roller hockey team.
They became a roller hockey team.
Roller derby.
The Rats. The Vampires with a Y.
Spooky.
Oh, wow.
Spooky.
With a Y.
Do you think the Blood Tubs were like, blood is our thing? That's
Yeah, there can only be one goth gang. You can't just be.
Pick a bird name. That's never been done.
So then we have the Death Fetchers.
Whoa, that's cool.
It's cool. That's one word.
Yeah, I like that.
That's cool words.
Actually, I would pledge that group just for the name. That's a good one. The Whelps.
That turned into Gary Barbera. Barbara the best. Whelps, I guess.
Well,
Good night.
Good night.
well,
There's a local one.
Wow.
Thank you.
that's
Zito.
like so unthreatening. That's just like, well,
the barbarian bear. It's not scary.
no. Like, we're gonna get beat up.
Well, we're the best.
Whelps.
The whelps.
The Crockett's.
Crockets?
Or is that croquettes? Like,
Yeah, chicken croquettes.
Like
chicken
maybe it's
croquettes.
croquettes.
Chicken
Maybe it
croquettes.
is.
That's where they came from.
I thought it was like Crockett's in tub.
Oh, maybe.
Crockets and blood tubs. They join together.
That's the shirt. It's a Miami Vice blood tub shirt.
Everyone will get this.
The Flayers.
That's cool because they probably did flay people.
Filet.
Yeah.
The Bobby Flayers.
Bobby Flayers. Great crab cakes.
The Garroters. I guess they had Garrett's.
What are Garrett's? That's like choking the people.
Yeah, it's like the
thing?
wire that you choke people
That's
with.
pretty cool.
Oh, I thought it had something to do with carrots.
The carrots.
Jack of Clubs. Seems pretty standard.
Yeah, I'm not impressed.
They started with the Queen of Clubs, and then everyone made fun of them. So they like, let's switch this.
There is a bar in the Grays Ferry neighborhood called Jack of Clubs. I wonder if it's
That was their
if
turf.
that was their hangout.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Jumpers.
Jumpers.
You got jumped.
You got jumped.
The Tormentors.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's like
That's
a tag
pretty-
team.
Sounds like
That's
Harry
a
Potter.
tag.
It's
Is
like
it?
Demolition.
Like the Pest. Like the John Leguizamo movie.
Look it up.
Look it up.
Kensington Blackhawks.
They sound like a hockey team.
Yeah.
They also played hockey.
They also played hockey.
In the winter. But then they were like, well, we're pretty good at beating people up anyway, so we should just do this.
They moved to Chicago.
Pretty good with these sticks. The Bugs.
Good one. Good one word. One
They
syllable.
had wings.
They-
They had like fake wings
They had
and
big
like
wings.
face paint.
They're like ladybugs.
Yeah.
They were ladybugs.
Ladybugs. Yeah.
Molly Maguires.
Who's that? Who's Molly McGuire?
They were the Molly Maguires.
Yeah, but it's got to be.
Like a person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's like a good like Irish punk band name.
Yeah.
They did that song that's like every fucking Irish fucking song. I hate Irish music. Can I cut a promo on Irish music? I fucking hate that shit. I hate that stuff.
What else you got?
The Nighthawks. Not to be confused with the Blackhawks. The Orange Men.
Again, not threatening.
That's like the Blue Men.
Rebels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Snappers.
Like
For the soup.
Yeah, like the turtle soup.
Maybe we can bring it. We're trying to get Snapper Soup to try on the pod or drop on our Patreon. We cannot find Snapper Soup. If anyone has a lead,
The only
DM
place
us.
I know is in Georgine's up in the Northeast, or with the deep. That's
what
like
I understand
way,
is that
way
there's like
back
a
there.
shortage of snapper.
And
of
yeah,
the
that's
turtles.
the other thing.
That's because it was hunted to extinction by these gangs.
But it's delicious.
That
I
they
don't
know.
know. I never tried it.
If you
Shredder, if you're out there, hit us up.
make us some
Make us some.
What else we got? The Darts.
darts was new at the time, so
Brand
That was
new
a fad.
sport.
The Spigots.
like a water.
Like
Like
a
a water
water
spigot. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not threatening.
No.
There's a lot of these gangs. I thought there would be like
There's
4.
so many. Yeah.
Gumballs.
That's another like a new thing that came out. Gum.
Gum.
The Dogtowners.
I would join this gang. I love dogs.
It's all dogs.
It's
though.
all dogs.
The Stockholders.
Never sell.
They were like
never
red-
sell.
They were the $1 million man of the.
Never. Yeah.
They all wore red suspenders and
They wore
pinstripe
red
shirts with their
They stick
sleeves
their hair
rolled up.
back. Yeah.
assholes.
So yeah, Bierman, you said you're surprised there are so many of them, but the Inquirer reported on 65 gangs, and this is only a small sampling of them. However, the most famous gang were the Schuylkill Rangers.
Schuylkill Rangers.
That's pretty cool.
Dressed
Pretty cool name.
Yeah, I agree. It has a local flair. Dressed in colonial outfits appropriated from Nativist icons, they hung around modern-day Grays Ferry and Graduate Hospital, waiting for darkness to strike.
So wait,
That's spooky.
downtown, those people that are dressed up like colonial people, that's them, right?
Yeah.
That's them.
The guy who dresses like Ben Franklin is
He's
their leader.
yeah.
He's their leader. It's funny because like they were dressed up like this. They actually aren't colonial people.
Yeah, this is 100 years after colonial times. They're wearing colonial outfits. They're appropriating this to stick it to the nativists.
Yeah. Drinking tea.
Yeah,
Right
they're
in
like
front of 'em.
Drink.
they're like these are what you think. This is what your heroes dress like, and we're sullying that in some way.
Now I'm rubbing my balls on it. On these pantaloons.
It would be messed up to get your ass kicked by somebody in a tri-corner hat, though, especially if it's not the fashion of the time.
Well, they poke you with it because it's pointy.
Yeah. Right.
It's like a
Those pipes-
boomerang.
Those pipes they play, they
pipes.
hurt, dude. They hit you in the shins with that.
I wonder if they had a drummer in the group.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the Schuylkill Rangers stalked well-to-do pedestrians. Other times, they hit ships or stevedores along the river.
So they were just like ruthless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody was a potential
Yeah.
victim to them. They just, they didn't have day jobs. They just went around robbing people.
Don't you people have jobs?
This is my job.
This is my
To rob people job.
And baby, business is good.
I just like this, and I rob people. It's a lifestyle.
It's not a phase. At the time, the Public Ledger advocated, quote, the United States authorities should take jurisdiction over the Schuylkill to dispatch naval forces to dislodge these land pirates since the police can't.
Wow.
Land
quote.
pirate. That's like land shark.
I steal from the sea, but then I go back home to a house on land.
They didn't have another. I guess they didn't really have another name for it.
I like land pirate. That's like a part-time pirate, you know?
This had a pretty devastating effect on the neighborhood on Southwark,
Yeah,
which was
that's not fun.
not incorporated into Philadelphia at the time. It was its own thing. On the afternoon of August 13th, 1876, a gangster known as Limpy Clark attacked a well-regarded.
What's wrong with Limpy Clark?
That's
Everyone
how,
needs a name.
That's how Dick Clark. He's related. He was one of his great forefathers. Limpy.
Dick Clark's real name is Limpy.
Limpy Dick Clark.
Limpy Dick Clark.
Limpy Dick Clark.
Dick is his middle name.
Dick is
Don't bleep that. It's his name.
It's his name.
I don't have to bleep it. It's his name.
It's his name. It's his name.
On the afternoon of August 13th, 1876, a gangster known as Limpy Clark attacked a well-regarded society man named L.P. Ashmead. As reported by the Philadelphia Times, that, quote, Colonel Ashmead, accompanied by a lady relative, went out in the afternoon to sniff some fresh breeze on the Schuylkill. Gross.
That means Coke, right?
On the east end of the South Street Bridge, a muscular young man made an attack on him. The colonel took out his eyeglasses to secure a full comprehension of the situation.
Wait a second. What is this?
Is this Limpy Dick? Clark.
When the unknown man of muscle grabbed the golden goggles with one hand and with the other hand grasped the colonel's golden watch and chain. Colonel Ashmead at once sounded the alarm and asked some 50 loafers who were sunning themselves on the
Loafers.
bridge to aid him in capturing the robbers.
Loafers, help me.
But not a single favorable response was
Yeah, you
made.
call
Well, if I didn't want to help
loafers.
you, you call them loafers.
And then
So you just call me a loafer?
fuck you, Colonel. You're not even a colonel anymore. That's the other part about it.
Colonel's not even a real title.
Not a real rank.
Not a real rank.
I guess the implication of this is that people knew who Colonel Ashmead was and people knew who Limpy Clark was, and nobody rushed to the aid of Colonel Ashmead.
They were like,
Well, I don't want to be on the wrong side of Limpy
He's
Clark.
in
oh yeah. I don't want the. I don't need that smoke.
Ashmead's just down here having a sniff of the Schuylkill, but Limpy lives here. I got to deal with him every day.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not dealing with Limpy. Oh, Limpy Dick all up in my face. I don't want that.
No, he's Limpy Clark.
You don't want that.
Well, I'm just saying.
No crime was too small or too petty for the Schuylkill Rangers. According to another story from the Inquirer, a boy who fished at Fairmount Park complained that the Rangers broke his rod, stole his friend's net, and swiped another kid's haul of 17 fish.
Don't ever come around here again. Wow.
17. Give me your fish, kid.
Yeah, when they can't steal your lunch money, they stole your lunch.
And they broke his rod. Come on.
He had to break his rod.
Yeah.
That even defeats the purpose, because it's like, if you didn't break his rod, he'd fish more.
You can come in like rob him every day.
Yeah.
Teach a man to fish.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
The media spilled a lot of ink on the Rangers' exploits, printing dozens of stories about the gang's most notorious leaders, turning them into media sensations.
Yeah, it probably helped them. And then people were like, I want to join them.
Yeah, it's like a recruiting tool. There was Jimmy Logue, a prolific bank robber suspected of murdering his wife. William Keating, the would-be priest turned highwayman.
Ooh.
However, the most infamous was Jimmy Haggerty, a career criminal who was once pardoned from prison on the condition that he permanently leave the country. Spoiler alert, he came back. When Haggerty was finally jailed, the Inquirer wrote, "Jimmy Haggerty has been caught. Good." That was it.
Damn.
So
I like how they'll be like, you promise, right? Oh, yeah, I totally
Just don't
promise.
come back.
he went to Canada for a little bit, and then he was like, "This is boring," and he came back. That's literally what happened. I guess he thought the heat had died down or nobody would recognize him, and he came back. Many people have taken credit for bringing down the gangs of Philadelphia, and ironically, several of them were Irish cops. They include Lieutenant James Flaherty of the 5th District and St. Clair Augustine Mulholland, a Civil War hero and then chief of police. So these guys were...
They were taking credit for it.
Yeah, they were headbusters, and they were like, "You're welcome."
We did it.
We did it. We saved the city.
Limpy Dick is no longer a problem.
It's unclear exactly why the gangs broke up. Theories include high mortality rates, industrialization, and a centralized police force.
Did they join the police?
Well, many gangs did go legit, forming political groups or volunteer firefighting companies.
Let's stab fires instead.
Well, I guess one of the things they did to make money on the side was, there's no organized volunteer fire organization, so they have bucket brigades. And, like I was saying, when these groups first form and they're clubs, that's one of their functions. Yeah. But then it's like, the beginning of fire insurance when they're like, oh, it's a...
you didn't pay up, we're going to let your house burn, but we're going to put this house out.
Right. Yeah. So they started to make money from that as like a production or a protection racket, and they kind of stayed in the game. And I think it's really interesting. I looked up, there were 65 gangs listed in the Inquirer, and a few years later, there are 66 volunteer fire companies in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. And they all have badass names.
By the 1880s, newspapers discussed the Schuylkill Rangers' misdeeds in the past tense, and everyone had just kind of moved on.
Yeah, it got boring. We moved on. Sliced bread had come out, so.
It turns out it was a fad.
It's a whole generation that passed, it's like...
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to do what your parents do.
Yeah.
I guess if these guys go legit after 20 years, they're like, no, we're firemen. Then the kids who look up to them don't become gangsters, they become firemen.
And that's why there's so many Irish firefighters.
Probably. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those things where everyone, when it's like, things used to be safe, it's like, it doesn't seem like that. It seemed like there was a hell of a lot of gangs always. This is crazy. I never heard about any of this.
Really? Well, that makes I'm delighted to hear that. I hope you enjoyed yourself, Bierman.
I did.
What a fun episode of Legends of Philadelphia. Delphia.
So,
wrap it up.
Do you guys have anything you want to recommend? Anything you're watching, listening to, eating this week?
Oh, so lately we've been recording these, and I make references to things that are happening when we record it, but this isn't going to come out for like months. So I looked up when this is going to come out, and if everything goes right, this should come out on let me get the exact date. National Lasagna Day on July 29th. But National Lasagna Day is on a Monday.
Oh.
So how do you think Garfield feels about that? That's like the ultimate like catch-22,
You're right.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's going to be really conflicted about it.
I know.
Wow.
I like to recommend the Trolls franchise.
Oh, yeah. You've been really into the
The
Trolls.
dolls.
My daughter loves it, so
Does
I
she
love
have
it.
The dolls, the little dolls.
We have the modern dolls,
are they bigger?
Princess Poppy. Yeah, they're like. I mean, honestly, they make them in all kinds of shapes and sizes. But
Does she brush her hair? That was the thing, right? Because they have crazy hair.
if you watch the movie, you would learn a lot. Wonderful. That Justin Timberlake, so talented.
Yes.
I would like to recommend Rittner Street Hardware. They copied some keys for me this week.
Nice.
And repaired a screen. So I don't know if you have any screens that need repairing.
It's the only hardware store that sells Pizzelle irons.
Oh wow.
Probably in the world.
They probably don't even make
Maybe in
those
Italy,
anymore.
but I don't
They
know.
haven't made those since like the 50s.
The screen fixing setup is like their best deal.
Yeah, I didn't know you could get a screen fixed, and I thought you just threw them out. But they hooked it up, and they like you said, they sell Pizzelle makers. So
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
okay, that's pretty much all there is to know about the gangs of Philadelphia. Please check out our website www.southfellini.com. That's SOUTHFELLINI.com for cool Philly-inspired merch. Visit us at 1507 East Passyunk Avenue in beautiful South Philly. We're open every weekend. Check us out on Instagram, Spotify, Apple iTunes, YouTube, and Patreon. We're at South Fellini everywhere. Follow along and join in the conversation. We want to hear from you.
Were you in any of these gangs?
Do you have any family connections to these gangs? Do these gang names ring any bells for you?
Do you have any experiences with Limpy Dick?
Look out for new episodes of the podcast Monday. Stay safe, wash your hands, and don't get eaten by a whale. That's a Jonah
religious
reference.
joke,
That's
religious
a
joke.
Jonah reference.